he is 38, and he is still the most active guy in the game. And he is running so fast and attacking the rim and throwing it down. And then he shoots jumpers. And when I watch LeBron, I can never
tomahawk slam
jam. I mean, here's a guy who in any particular moment, any particular game, any particular event, he can be the best shooter, the best passer, the best dribbler, the best...
Bill Walton would go off on LeBron's legacy. Not because LeBron isn't great, but because basketball has lost its honesty. And if the old school legend were still here, watching the way modern superstars craft their narratives, control their stories, and chase ghosts instead of championships, you know he wouldn't stay silent. Walton never did. He was the kind of player who bled for the game, who believed basketball was bigger than any one person's brand. And LeBron? LeBron represents everything Walton's generation feared the game would become, a carefully managed empire. A legacy built not just on the court, but in boardrooms, on social media, and through calculated moves that make you wonder, where does the basketball end and the business begin? This isn't about hate, this is about honesty, the kind of honesty that's vanished from basketball. And if Bill Walton could speak today, this is exactly what he'd say.
He's doing fantastic. Now, it wasn't always the way. It wasn't always the case, because I broke my spine when I was 21. And I was at UCLA and I was playing.
Some asshole undercut you, right?
Yeah, I was high above the basket. Now, I love being high above the basket, man. I love just traveling around up there and flying and having the grand old time. And so here I was undercut, and it was just an awful situation. And I flipped over and I landed flat on my back on a tartan floor, the innovation of the...
Let's go back for a second, because to understand why someone like Bill Walton would critique LeBron, you have to understand who Bill Walton was. Bill Walton wasn't just a basketball player. He was a warrior poet, a tie-dye wearing, Grateful Dead loving, counterculture icon who happened to be one of the most dominant centers the game has ever seen. Two-time NBA champion, finals MVP, college legend. But more than that, he was brutally, painfully honest. Walton played through injuries that would have ended most careers. He sacrificed his body for the game, literally. His feet were destroyed, his back was broken, and he kept playing because that's what you did. You didn't sit out for load management. You didn't engineer trades to easier situations. You fought where you were planted. And here's the thing about Walton's generation. They believed in something deeper than stats. They believed in the purity of competition, in earning your stripes through blood, sweat, and genuine adversity. Not manufactured adversity, not chosen one pressure from high school. Real adversity, the kind that comes from being doubted, from being broken, from having to prove yourself every single night without the world watching your every move on social media. These guys played for the love of basketball first. The fame, the money, that came second, or third, or not at all. And they were okay with that, because the game was enough, the competition was enough, the brotherhood on the court was enough. Bill Walton would look at today's NBA and see something different, something shinier, something more marketable, but also something that's lost its soul. Because when you build a legacy with a PR team, when you announce your decisions on primetime television, when you carefully curate every Instagram post to control your narrative, are you playing basketball or are you building a brand? That's the question Walton would ask, and it's a question that makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
Debate as to who was his peer. Was it Kobe or, other guys, Kevin Durant, stuff like that.
Said,
and don't get me wrong, I think he eclipsed that. I think he answered the call. But there was always the question. Tell me one time in MJ's career when there was even a question.
I'm too young to answer that question. But I think that's where the debate kind of goes, because you see more.
I respect the debate, but I think the debate is for folks with youth, folks who are a little bit older.
Yeah.
Now, let's be clear about something. LeBron James is undeniably great. 4 championships, 4 finals MVPs, all-time leading scorer, 20-plus seasons at an elite level. The longevity alone is superhuman. The basketball IQ? Unmatched. The physical dominance? Historic. If you try to tell me LeBron isn't one of the greatest to ever touch a basketball, I'm not listening. The resume speaks for itself. But here's where it gets complicated. LeBron didn't just play basketball. He pioneered something else entirely. He became the first player to truly control his own narrative from start to finish. The first to understand that in the social media age, your legacy isn't just what happens on the court, it's what people believe happened on the court. And LeBron mastered that game better than anyone. Think about it. The decision, taking his talents to South Beach, not 1, not 2, not 3, the super team era, the return to Cleveland, the narrative of coming home, then LA, the Space Jam sequel, the media empire, every move calculated, every decision crafted to control the story. And look, there's nothing illegal about that, nothing wrong with being smart about your career, but is it honest? Is it the kind of basketball purity that Bill Walton would respect? Or is it something else, something more corporate, more manufactured, more empty? Because here's what Walton's generation would ask. If you have to engineer your path to greatness, if you have to team up with other superstars in their prime, if you have to control every narrative and spin every loss into a moral victory, did you really earn it the same way? Michael Jordan didn't leave Chicago to join Hakeem and Barkley. Magic didn't ditch the Lakers to form a super team with Bird. They stayed, they fought, they built dynasties through draft picks, development, in sheer force of will. And when they lost, they owned it. No excuses, no social media posts about being humble. They just came back hungrier. LeBron's path was different, and maybe that's the evolution of the game. Maybe that's smart player empowerment, but it's also why someone like Bill Walton would have questions, hard questions, the kind that cut through the PR and ask, what do we really celebrate? Walton would really go off, and honestly, this is the conversation basketball needs but refuses to have. Let's talk about the decision. July 2010, LeBron James announces he's leaving Cleveland, his hometown, to join Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami on national television with a 1-hour special, while kids in Cleveland cried in the streets. Now imagine Bill Walton watching that. Imagine a guy who played through broken bones, who sacrificed millions in salary because his body couldn't hold up, who never once thought about leaving his teammates high and dry for an easier path. What would he say? He'd probably call it exactly what it was, the moment basketball lost its honesty. Because here's the thing, it's not about leaving Cleveland. Players have always changed teams. It's about how it happened. The spectacle, the ego, the manufactured drama, the complete disconnect from what basketball is supposed to be about, competition. In Walton's era, you didn't call up your rivals and ask to join them. You fought them, you hated them, you wanted to beat them so badly it consumed you. That's what made the rivalries real. That's what made the championships meaningful. Because you didn't choose the easy road, you conquered the hard one. But here's where it gets uncomfortable, because what Walton's generation would say about LeBron isn't just about basketball, it's about what we're willing to sacrifice for greatness. And trust me, this is the part nobody wants to talk about. Modern superstars don't lose anymore. Not really. They gain experience. They need more help. They were playing against a stacked team. There's always a narrative ready to protect the brand. Always an excuse waiting in the wings. And LeBron, he's the master of this. 2011 Finals, he was too young, even though he was 26. 2014, his teammates didn't show up. 2015, injuries. 2017 and 18, the Warriors were too stacked. Never mind that LeBron helped create the super team era. Every loss gets reframed. Every failure becomes part of the journey. And fans eat it up because we've forgotten what honesty looks like. Bill Walton would lose his mind because in his day, when you lost, you owned it. Magic Johnson lost finals. Larry Bird lost finals. They didn't make excuses. They didn't tweet about how great they played in a losing effort. They said, "We lost, we'll be better." And then they were. That's honesty. That's the basketball that Walton's generation loved. Raw, real, unfiltered, no spin, no PR team crafting the narrative before you even leave the arena. So here's the question nobody wants to ask, but everybody's thinking. Is LeBron great because of the system he created, or in spite of it? Look at the championships. Miami joined 2 other All-Stars in their prime. Cleveland, 2016, incredible, genuinely heroic, probably his most honest championship. LA, 2020, bubble championship. Traded for Anthony Davis, another super team situation. Compare that to Jordan's 6 with mostly the same core, Kobe's 5 with Shaq, then without, Curry's 4 built through the draft, Duncan's 5 with mostly homegrown talent, Magic's 5 with Kareem already there but staying in building a dynasty over a decade. LeBron's path is different, more transient, more engineered. And maybe that's just modern basketball. Maybe that's player empowerment. Maybe that's smart business. But is it honest basketball? The fans are divided, and that division tells you everything. Half of basketball fans worship LeBron as the GOAT. The other half can't stand what he represents, and both sides have valid points, because we're not just arguing about basketball anymore, we're arguing about what basketball should be. Should players have the freedom to craft their own destiny? Absolutely. But should we pretend that destiny is the same as legacy earned the hard way? That's debatable. Should athletes control their narrative? Sure, but should we ignore when that narrative contradicts reality? That's where it gets messy. And Bill Walton, he'd be the guy saying what everyone's thinking but afraid to say. LeBron might be great, but the way he's crafted his greatness has changed basketball, and not all of that change is good. But let's pump the brakes for a second, because Bill Walton wasn't just a basketball purist. He was also a champion of justice, activism, and using your platform for good. And in this arena, LeBron is exactly what Walton would admire. The I Promise School in Akron, speaking out against injustice, using his platform to amplify important voices, fighting for player rights and empowerment, building generational wealth not just for himself, but for his community. LeBron's impact off the court is undeniable, revolutionary even. Bill Walton protested the Vietnam War. He fought for equality. He used his voice when it was unpopular and risky. He'd see LeBron doing similar work and respect the hell out of it. And the work ethic, the body maintenance, the commitment to excellence year after year after year, Walton would respect that too, because for all the questions about super teams and narrative control, nobody can question LeBron's dedication to his craft. The man is 40 years old and still dropping 25-8-8. That's not luck. That's not genetics alone. That's obsessive work. So Walton would have respect, real respect, but it would be complicated respect. The kind that says, I admire what you do off the court and how hard you work, but I question what you've done to the sport I love. And maybe that's fair. Maybe legends are allowed to be complicated. Maybe you can be great and still represent something that purists struggle with. So where does this leave us? Bill Walton would look at today's NBA and see a league that's lost something essential. Not talent, the talent is incredible. Not athleticism, players are superhuman now. Not skill, the shooting and handles are beyond what his generation could imagine. He'd see a league that's lost its honesty. A league where narratives matter more than results, where brands matter more than championships, where legacy is built through media campaigns instead of just playing the damn game and letting the chips fall where they may. And LeBron is the face of that evolution. Not the cause. He didn't create this system, but he's the one who perfected it, the one who showed everyone else how to play the game off the court as masterfully as you play it on the court. And now, a whole generation of players is following that blueprint, looking for their own super team situations, demanding trades, controlling narratives, building brands first, championships second. Is that wrong? Not necessarily. Is it different? Absolutely. Is it honest? That's the question Bill Walton would want us to answer. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. We can't have it both ways. We can't celebrate player empowerment and then be surprised when players empower themselves right out of competitive balance. We can't praise LeBron for being smart about his career and then wonder why the game feels less authentic. This is the choice we made. This is the basketball we chose. And maybe that's okay. Maybe this is just evolution. Maybe in 20 years we'll look back and wonder why anyone ever questioned it. But Bill Walton wouldn't let us off that easy. He'd make us sit with the discomfort. He'd make us ask, have we traded basketball's soul for its marketability? Have we sacrificed honesty for brand management? Have we confused greatness with PR perfection? Bill Walton isn't here to give us these answers. He passed in 2024, taking with him one of basketball's most honest voices. But if he were here, if he could see what the game has become, you know he'd have something to say. He'd probably start with a Grateful Dead reference. Then he'd talk about the beauty of competition, the purity of the game, the importance of honesty. And then he'd get to LeBron, and he wouldn't pull punches. He'd say LeBron is great, phenomenally great, historic, one of the best to ever do it. But he'd also say that the way LeBron built his legacy has changed basketball forever, and not all of those changes are positive. He'd ask us to think deeply about what we value, talent or heart, statistics or story, brand or basketball, and he'd challenge us to be honest about our answers. Because that's what Bill Walton did. He challenged, he questioned, he refused to accept easy answers, and basketball is poor without that voice. So here's the question we'll leave you with. Can you be the greatest if you engineered the path to greatness? Can a legacy be authentic if it's carefully curated? And has basketball lost its honesty in the pursuit of superstardom? Let us know what you think in the comments. This is the debate basketball needs, the uncomfortable conversation we keep avoiding. And whether you love LeBron or question his methods, you have to admit Bill Walton would want us talking about it. If you enjoyed this deep dive into basketball's most uncomfortable question, smash that subscribe button. We're diving into the stories and debates that nobody else will touch. The drama, the truth, the honesty that basketball desperately needs. Subscribe and let's keep this conversation going.